Okay, with that said, like I said to Corey a moment ago, we're going to build on some work here from the last couple of years, right? And we're going to start with Mexico and move a little farther afield and see something very interesting. So last year I explored how a native figure was used on early Mexican coins to signify both Mexico and Mexican liberty. This year I will show that the Mexican case is part of a larger pattern throughout the Americas. In addition to Mexico, Colombia, Costa Rica, and even the US employed native figures on their newly independent coinage for the same purpose. This practice is rooted in a wider tradition of portraying America as a native woman and traces back to initial efforts to depict and organize people into races, as I'll show you in a moment. So what's really interesting here is that we have former colonies like Colombia, Costa Rica, and Mexico of the Spanish imperial regime, and even a British colony doing the same thing. So this is truly a pan or trans-American phenomenon here that it turns out Mexico is a part of. Let's begin by looking at some of the imagery that gave rise to what ends up on the coins, okay? And we'll start looking at this figure I call Native America first. Early in the colonial era, Westerners came to view the world as composed of 4 continents, each personified by its own race and signature indigenous avatar, often a woman. America is depicted semi-nude with a feathered headdress and skirt bearing native arms, bow, arrow, and quiver. She is commonly portrayed with, and sometimes riding, exotic American animals like an armadillo, an alligator, or a parrot. And she's frequently associated with a cornucopia, signifying her riches, and a severed human head, signaling her savage nature. Let's explore this foundation imagery. And the best place to start is with maps, because maps show us both the quadripartite dividing of the world and the imagery associated with it. This is a Stupendal map from 1730. It shows us the Americas as having their own hemisphere, and the Old World is being divided into Europe, Asia, and Africa. So a quadripartite division of the world, to be matched in the corners by figures of Europa, Asia, Africa, and America. Each of the 4 races corresponding to one of the 4 continents in this world view from the time. All right? And it's this image right here that we're most interested in today. These images were widely recognized, and even very early on. Here's a version of America from 1590. So less than 100 years after Columbus was first plying the Caribbean, this representation of America was cooked up. And you see her, she's riding a giant armadillo. There's a parrot over here, she's semi-nude. She's got a tomahawk, she's got a feathered headdress, she's got a quiver, and she's got a bow in her hands. Many of the quintessential elements of this figure throughout time, and even on coins in centuries later, basically. The image was quite popular to the point that the Meissen porcelain factory actually made figurines of this. Indeed, there were at least 6 different sets of these figurines that I've been able to identify, and they made a profit by selling these things. That's how well disseminated this imagery was. This, of course, is one of the America figures here, and we'll zoom in on another one and look at some of its components. Now we see the cornucopia. Here's our alligator. She's got a feathered skirt. There's our parrot, feathered headdress, and of course she's semi-nude.